Good afternoon, everyone. So today we're going to be talking about something that's not similar to what you've seen this past week. We're going to work on more educational and talk about the industry and collegiate gap. Before we do that, I wanted to introduce ourselves. So my name is John Fan. I'm a third-year undergraduate student at Purdue University. I'm pursuing a couple of degrees. And I'm also a researcher in natural language processing.
My name is Ryan Tom. I'm also undergraduate at Purdue University in my third year. I'm studying cybersecurity and psychology.
My name is Tyler Peatman. I'm a third-year undergraduate student at Purdue University studying cybersecurity and psychology.
So before we get into the meat and potatoes of our talk, I just wanted to walk us through what we're going to be talking about, the talking points that we'll cover. So we'll go into a little bit of background over what we're actually talking about. We'll talk about the current approaches for joint connections for industry and education. We'll talk about what more we can do, and we'll talk about how you guys can leave your own impact on the future generation of the workforce. So when we were researching this topic, we found some really surprising statistics. 18 months after hiring new hires, 46% of those new hires leave. They either fail out or they don't get enough training to last. This lost productivity from inadequate training costs employers an average of 1 to 2.5 of total revenue. And that may seem a little bit low, but when you're working in a $2 billion industry, that's millions of dollars lost. So here's what we're currently doing at Purdue University to help the future workforce connect with industries and employers. We have on-campus company recruitment, we have company information sessions, we have industry donations in the form of either monetary or equipment. We have co-op and internship programs that are facilitated from career fairs. That's a lot, and we're privileged to have that at a big university like ourselves, but it's not enough to help smaller universities, and it's not enough to help everyone. So what we propose is an investment in the future. We want more employer engagement at an individual level, not just mass recruiting, but finding out what Ryan here wants to do with his life, how you can help him fulfill his goals so that he can help you fulfill your organizational needs. Joint industrial advisory boards. These are oftentimes councils that help colleges create a curriculum that you guys want for your corporation. So if you want students to know BGP coming out of college, you can join these industrial advisory boards and propose curriculum changes to add that. Sponsor events and training programs. The number one thing that helps us learn is hands-on training. These things help us learn what you guys want us to do. Be like NANOG and sponsor conferences, do interpersonal networking with people that are actually in the field. Before I came to college, I knew nothing and no one within the field, and I found a mentor. That mentor helped guide me through what college was like and what information security and networking really is. And on the note of mentorship opportunities, Ryan would like to share his experiences.
All right, so I'm going to go a little bit more in depth with some of these career building opportunities, specifically mentorships. What a lot of these things have in common is these three things to the left that you see. So hands-on experience. A lot of these give opportunities to students to have hands-on experience in the field, whether that is configuring switches, implementing networking routes, doing something hands-on and technical that gives them the experience, but is different than the classic theory that they learn in the classroom. Furthermore, it gives them networking, not only the technical networking skills that a lot of you seek, but also that social networking, being able to connect with people, employers, and other companies, and developing that emotional intelligence, and also the soft skills needed to be able to communicate and be successful in the working field. These together give them the ability to strive. It gives them the passion, it gives them the curiosity to really be able to go out in the work field and accomplish great things. And you can see that in all of these different opportunities, such as the college immersion program here, letting us be here and doing what we're doing right now, as well as participating in the hackathon and being able to participate in other talks here. The whole mentor and mentee relationship, which I'll go into more depth on the next slide. And then also having passionate instructors. Having instructors that care about teaching the student, teaching the mentee, and telling them this is really what I care about in the industry, and this is how we do things, but without having that boring, just, I'm going to lecture at you and give you all this information, do with it what you want. So having a passionate instructor can be a huge difference for a student. So here's a bit of a mentor process, just very simplified to be kind of the power of peer learning. So we've already talked about hands-on teaching, being able to actually get in there and do configurations, work with fiber optics, work with BGP, all of these big industry terms that we learn in the classroom, but we never might touch on a switch or a command line interface or actually see what that config file looks like. This allows us to build knowledge, building that repertoire of information. That way we can go out in the field and be prepared when we actually are going to start working or doing some of these internships. And finally, accomplishing some objectives within the job. If you have a mentorship program, the mentor should be going through their day and their daily operations, whatever they need to do, and that person should be shadowing, the mentee should be shadowing them, knowing or asking questions and being able to keep up with them and also learn this is what a day-to-day job looks like. And what you get out of that is the mentor still completes their job for the day, they still complete all their objectives, but they've gained a greater perspective by talking to the student and seeing where education is currently at and what needs to still be learned. Furthermore, you now have a skilled worker. That mentee has gone through the entire job, they've been immersed in company culture, they've learned the job roles and the technical skills needed to do it, and they also have some working experience and that ability to eventually become an employee either with you or somewhere else and have that ability to mentor in the future and complete that cycle. So what happens when you start thinking about a lot of these things? When you think about all the other benefits, possibly the mentee goes back to school and has a lot of friends that are also in that industry, that same field, and now those are a lot of new internship opportunists and people that can go into your company and build your company even more. You also have that mentorship cycle, being able to keep having this cycle repeat, and now you're going to have a lot of leaders that have done the mentorship program, have taught, and also have been taught. It's a greater connection between the company and all the employees there. Finally, just giving younger generations like some direct experience and what happens when you institute this throughout college education. These are really big questions, but not really sure how we're going to do it, and Tyler's going to go into that more.
Yeah, so essentially, before I can answer Ryan's question, I really have to focus on the industry advancement, right? So what's good about this is that network is advancing at a rapid pace. But what's bad about this is it's difficult for networking education to keep up. It typically seems infeasible that education in this sector can match its advancements due to the financial barriers. Do you have the right lab equipment? Do you have the amount of money to teach faculty? Do you have things of that nature? So it kind of creates a revolving cycle, right? So once I graduate from my network engineering undergraduate degree, I'm at the point on the left at the end of that arrow. And then I enter the job as a entry-level network engineer. But I have to take this very winding road that this line represents, which is approximately an 18 to a 60-month journey to be where I need to be entry-level. So with that being said, we need to do something better in the undergraduate degree, and that comes with like corporate sponsors and things that I'll get into on the next slide. So how can companies leave their mark on undergraduate education, particularly in network engineering? You need to invest in the future of your company and the field itself. So if you hire somebody who came from another company and they had good internal education and they had good practices, it comes back and it helps you, right? So lending a helping hand to the younger generation would include recommending collegiate curriculum changes, donating networking equipment, expanding internship, co-op, mentorship programs, and increased continuing education programs for faculty, employees, and students. What good is donating equipment without helping the faculty understand what it does? So making sure that is implemented is very important. We would really just like to thank NANOG, especially their college immersion program. Without them, we wouldn't be here. But also the hardest working professor in computing, Professor Nicole Hands. She's right here. Can you stand up? Can we ever stand up? Everything from, staying up late, hours, 4 a.m., trying to change lab manuals to improve them or to, combat academic dishonesty, she does it. So, yeah, thank you.
This is something that we'd like to have a discussion with people, so if you'd like to, we'll be available right after all the lightning talks. Thank you.
Okay, Chris Morrow, if you're here, it's your turn. Otherwise, Rudiger, please come on up. So to the people in the back, we're skipping. So Rudiger's talk is going to be next. So the one that was supposed to be after this. So skip to the one after this. Yeah, sorry about this. So while they're switching the slides, I will introduce you. Rudiger Volk works with Deutsche Telekom, and he's going to tell us about tools for BGP security, running security.
Thank you.
And as soon as your slides show up.
Yeah, well, okay. Considering that Google is, the timing is not right yet. Okay. Okay. I'm Rüdiger Volk. I have been around actual operational networking since essentially, IP networking since essentially '89 summer. I reported first time on the US West Coast about IP and Internet actually working in Europe. And later on, the German telco asked for help for getting something done in the area, and I have been involved in IETF all the time in parallel to being operator. So I'm going to talk about routing security. Yesterday we had a panel on that, and there are many factors relevant for routing security, and it is important, as I pointed out yesterday, to be precise when talking about security, and the RQ spec tool and specification technology that we have done recently is just one factor, or addressing just one factor in the routing security area. But yes, it is trying to be pretty rigid, and the factor is the management of rigid ingress route filters, which has been considered kind of a requirement for everybody all the time, but actually the implementation has been difficult and lacking in many cases. So this is about route prefix filtering and documentation for that, and the question is, based on what data can we do this in a precise and rigid fashion? And that's been a problem. Our QSpec provides a query specification formalism, and we will look at the details of that to some extent. We are providing evaluation on the web portal, and we will see at the end a quick look at snapshots of the of the provided web diagnostics. So the traditional problem space is everybody is supposed to document the customer cone by way of registering AS sets in the Internet Routing Registry, the RPSL-based databases that are around and that are fairly badly managed and organized, and register route or route 6 objects for the announced routes in this IRR. Problems and questions there are: which IRR is used by who, and what is the quality of the data that's still there, and is there any authorization for what's put there? That means essentially there is lots of garbage and confusion out there. And to do good filtering, it is essential that you be very selective about the IRR use. But so far, we do not have a commonly agreed way of telling people which precise way of using the IRR data is supposed to happen. And much less are there diagnostic tools for figuring out what are murky spots in the data, and that would be, of course, a starting point for cleaning up stuff. Now, for a long time, people have been working on RPKI as helping for more secure information for routing security. And we have the RPKI ROAs there, which are looking like the IRR routes, but as a clean thing with authorization in the background and all nice things. And the interesting question is, well, okay, how can we make use of the old and the new stuff in the in the best way? RQspec actually is, I think, a nice step forward in doing this. We have a precise and concise definition of how to query the databases in combination. The combination makes full use of the old and the new, and thus enables a smooth progress towards more use of the new authorized system. The implementation is not just the specification formalism, but we have the tools to actually evaluate according to the specification. And that's implemented, first of all, as a command line tool, as is usually integrated in generating configuration tools, tool chains. But we also have make the stuff available as a web-based service. And this includes not just generating filters, but also providing diagnostic information. Okay, and so let me try to speed up. Well, okay, the formalism is essentially defined using XML schema, which we will be hiding behind web UI. There is an XML, XSLT rule set that helps to actually define and implement the semantics of the schema. And we have the implementation at the moment at a pilot stage for use internally within the Deutsche Telekom group. Obviously, what we are showing is, I think, something that would be useful as a public service. So, this is a sketch of, well, okay, how the schema and its various attributes are presented on the web user interface. We have to decide, first of all, whether we want an evaluation for an AS set or a root set result. Depending on which type of result we want, we have a selection of variants of evaluation modes that may be good for creating filters, or that may be good for giving you specific diagnostic hints about stuff that looks not good. And then we have a field where the IRR data sources can be selected, and it is a little bit more sophisticated than what you are used to in the old-time standard IRR Okay, I have to speed up, and there are different variants for the AS sets. There is the standard plain thing, and then there are things like, well, okay, we expose and give you the ASs that are in the AS set that are actually not supposed to show up anywhere because IANA has still reserved them. And in practice, this is seen all the time. And ASs that have been allocated by IANA to RIRs, but the RIRs have returned them into their free pools, is more frequent by at least an order of magnitude. So that's obviously useful diagnostic information for pointing people to bad spots in their data. For the root set, the variants are actually more interesting. We have the usual old plain IRR resolution. We also have a variant where we say, please give me just the ROAS for the ASs that are the argument in the evaluation. And then we can also do variance views of the IRR data classified according to the origin validation of RPKI, where it is in particular of interest to flag the roots that we find in the IRR that are invalid. And for making a good combined use, we have the rclean thing, which is the filter to be generated in the future, where we actually only use the RPKI validated clean IRR data and enrich that by adding all the good ROA information from the RPKI. I was talking, we have a customer analysis website presentation, and that essentially provides two views. One of the AS set with all the variants, and it would be really nice to have a pointer here. What I can point to, there is the bad rears column that you see, and there we have an example where an AS that is actually not valid to use according to RIR data is flagged in the bad rears column. And for the curious, seeing which ASs that are in the set actually have ROAS may be of interest, but that's not that crucial. For the root set diagnostic page, we have more variants, and the example shows, and this is all real data. I only had to censor a little, I only had to censor the actual prefix information for legal reasons. You see there is there's more than 10% of the number of roots that are in the IRR is actually flagged as origin validation invalid. That should not be the case, and we are seeing in the bottom 3 lines actually examples of root objects from the IRR that better should be ignored according to RPKI. Oops, that should not be there, and that should not be there. These two slides were meant as essentially bonus. I don't want to talk about it. Quite obviously, there is considerably more to talk about. Helpful diagnostics, beyond what I presented in the UI there should be hints and suggested procedures for analysis and improving the data. The underlying mechanics of doing the RQ spec and its implementation. Well, okay, see and invite me for more detailed presentations or workshops in the future. And quite obviously, the question of how, where, when a web service might be ready and available for whom would be an interesting point to discuss. Takeaways, I think our QSpec provides a concise notation for using RPKI and IRR databases for documenting your customer routes. It provides tool for evaluation of this, for creating rigid ingress route filters and diagnostics to identify murky spots in IRR data to help clean up. And it encourages creating authoritative data in RPKI to be used with priority in conjunction with remaining data from the that is still only covered in the murky IRR.
Excellent job. Thank you, Rudiger. And with that, we're actually back on schedule.